Hi, everyone. This is Rico Figliolini, host of Peachtree Corners Life, a podcast here in the city of Peachtree Corners, just north of Atlanta. I appreciate you all joining us. I have a special guest today, Scott Hilton, a Georgia House rep that represents this area, House District 48. Hey, Scott, how are you?
Rico, great to see you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, it's been a while. We've done this on occasion, and this is a good time to sort of catch up on the wrap up of the Georgia State House and see what's been going on a little bit. Um, so Scott's on several committees: House Education, Health and Ways and Means Committee, uh, among others, and doing a great job up there, representing both Roswell, Peachtree Corners, and Johns Creek. Right? I think I got that right.
Yep.
Um, a bit to talk about. So we're just to let everyone know at the beginning, we're going to be talking about a few things as far as bills that have been passed, how the House works a little bit for those that don't know, some of the budget work, some special bills that Scott's been involved in, like HB 328, which is the Georgia Gold Scholarship Bill, and some other bills as well. And then we'll also get into a little bit about what has been passed that you all might be interested in, like property tax and all that. So, Scott, why don't you know what, number one, tell us a little bit about yourself,
Yeah.
brief about, your background a little bit. You live in Peachtree Corners, you have a family here. So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah. Thank you, Rico. Yeah. We've lived here in Peachtree Corners for a while now, have been really active in the community, and just finished my third term in the Georgia State House, really over the last 10 years. And honored to serve. We've got kids in school here. My wife and I have a small business here. So we are certainly active in the community. And yeah, I think an important part of serving is, as we talked about, kind of wrapping up the work at the Capitol and coming back and letting folks know what it is we worked on and what we do. Here in Georgia, unlike DC, we are a part-time legislative body. So we meet January to March every year and make laws on behalf of all Georgians. During that time, it's a pretty busy experience. We're working 12 to 14-hour days, going back and forth to the Capitol there. And, about 2,000 bills or so get introduced. Only about 200 or so end up being signed by the governor. So it's a lot to look at, a lot to study in a very condensed period of time. But we got a lot done. And so it's nice to come back into the district and the community and let people know what did we get done on their behalf.
Right. And some of the legislation, it's was it a 2 year cycle? Sometimes stuff comes in, doesn't really get voted on until a year later, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. So we work in what's called a biennial format. So it's every 2 years. So if you introduced something last year, it's still alive to be considered this year. But after we adjourned on April 3rd at about 1:30 in the morning, I think is when we got out, that's when everything dies and is no longer alive and needs to be reintroduced in the following 2 years.
Yeah. Um, so it takes a while to pass legislation here, and it's probably a good thing.
It's a very good thing because what we do impacts 11 million people. And so you got to make sure you get it right the first time. And so it's not easy to pass legislation. One of the cool distinctions that I came across the other day, University of Virginia does a pretty exhaustive study of, what are some of the most effective lawmakers across the country. And so they actually somehow found my record and saw that I both introduce and pass a lot of legislation, and so I was ranked fairly high according to UVA's study on effectiveness, which
It's
is
not,
cool. I mean, you want to go down there and actually do the work.
yeah, yeah, no, that is cool because how many representatives are there? And just in the House alone?
Yeah, so there's 180 in the House,
Yeah.
56 in the Senate. We have one of the larger bodies, legislative bodies in the nation.
Yeah.
So
So it's
a
not
lot of
easy.
people, a lot of ideas.
Yeah, it's not easy to get a name on a bill and the bill passed. So
That's right.
it takes a lot of effort. One of the bills that you passed, I think, has to deal with taking cell phones sort of out of the school or leaving them in the school but inaccessible. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about that and why and what's the impact actually.
Yeah, so this got a lot of attention. So one of the jobs as a legislator is to look at what other states are doing and what's working well. And so there's been a trend nationally around cell phones in schools where we've started to wake up and say, it's probably not a good thing for a child to be trying to learn algebra while scrolling through Instagram or
Mm.
Facebook. And so last year I introduced legislation, House Bill 340. We passed it. It was to get cell phones out of K through 8. And that was an obvious first step. And it really started to develop this culture around an awareness around we shouldn't have cell phones in schools. And so, due to the popularity and success of that legislation, a lot of folks, teachers, parents, and even some students came back to me and said, we need to expand this into high school. And so this year I introduced House Bill 1009
Mhm.
to go cell phone free in high school. And the legislation calls for cell phone free from bell to bell. So beginning of the day to the end of the day. And what we found is in states that have done this and they've taken cell phones out of the classrooms, grades are up, test scores improved, mental health improves, and there's
Mm.
actually fewer fights, in the school itself. So really a win-win all the way around. It's really been life-changing. A lot of schools, absent the legislation, have already started doing this in Georgia. This bill just made sure that we do it across the board in every school.
Was this bill signed into law?
Great question. So we adjourned April 3rd. After that day, the governor has 45 days to sign or veto all bills. So we're still kind of in that window right now.
Right.
I haven't heard of any concerns from the governor's office. I anticipate we'll probably get the bill signed somewhere first week of May, that time frame.
So do you leave it up to the individual school districts on how that's done? As far as leaving the phone out, I mean, is it literally not with the students anymore while they're in school, or is it in Faraday bags or zip or magnetic zip bags or whatever? How does that, how would that work?
Yeah, so the bill was intentionally not long. It was about three to four pages, and the reason being is we wanted to set kind of what the parameters of the rules of the road were, but we wanted the schools to design a program that works best for them. So we really wanted just to set the baseline of, this is not you can take it out during this period or that period, because what we're trying to avoid is get teachers away from being the cell phone police
Right,
and then kids get in trouble for pulling it out all the time. So the
right.
best practice is beginning of the day you put it up, and so some schools do pouches, some do little slots on the back of the door, some take it up at the entryway. Some schools just go on the honor system, and you wouldn't think it would work, but it actually is shown to be pretty effective. So. We just want to make sure that, yeah, kids when the phones are up, they're learning and they're socializing. It's amazing to see lunchrooms go from silent to kids interacting, talking, playing games, etc.
For sure. Um, Lots of legislation. Another one's education related, and that's the academic redshirting,
Yeah.
um, addressing that. So I just recently heard about this. So explain to me a little bit what that means.
So this was really interesting. So back in about October, November, I had a bunch of parents, a lot of them from Simpson Elementary, come to me and say, Scott, Gwinnett County is saying, if you are 5, you got to go to kindergarten. If you're 6, you got to go to first grade, and there's no flexibility. And so a lot of parents who had been on a path where they had a 5-year-old who was in pre-K, all of a sudden were that 5-year-old was having to skip kindergarten and go to first grade. And really, the law was sort of absent in this area, and again, what parents have found, and we're parents of summer birthdays too, where you may have a boy who has a July or even August birthday, and frankly, they're not ready to go to kindergarten or first grade yet. So a lot of parents, what we call academically redshirt, they hold the kid back a year, allow them to mature. And in doing so, the kid does a lot better when it comes to school. But we've seen that myself personally, but also the data shows that as well. So we tried to work with the county and see if there was a solution. They were holding pretty hard and fast to their interpretation of what they thought the law said. So there was a huge grassroots army. A lot of them here in Peachtree Corners came together, and we introduced a bill that said you can academically redshirt. You can enroll your child. Um, the first time you enroll your child is at your choice, and so. That ended up passing as well. And I know a lot of parents, especially here locally, are pretty excited about it.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. There's my kids as they were growing up, being born later in the year sometimes it can be an issue also. But for sure, I mean, you want to make sure your kid's mature enough to be able to get in the right grade and stuff, and sometimes even not just held back maybe for different reasons, including that age level.
Yeah.
But the let's see, getting on to. depending on two. So there's a bit of the budget is big. I mean, this doesn't affect the budget necessarily. These are just policies, right?
Yeah.
But with a $40 billion budget the state of Georgia has,
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff going on in there. A lot of impact, a lot of different areas that that legislation goes on. How do you stay abreast with everything? I mean, it's hard to read that whole budget yourself. I mean, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how does that work? How do you know what's going in, what's coming out and stuff?
So the only thing we're constitutionally required to do as legislators is pass a budget. So we could literally pass a budget and go home. And there's probably a lot of people that wish we did do that. But yeah, as you mentioned, the budget's about 42. And I was looking around me here to see. I usually keep a copy nearby, but it's about that thick, and it's $42 billion. And we've got amazing staff that helps us keep up with what are all the changing line items and stuff. Big picture wise, of the $40 billion, about half of that goes to education, so roughly about 20 billion. Another good chunk of that goes toward Medicaid slash healthcare, and then the remainder to transportation, public safety, and other agencies. A few things to note that are pretty important here in Georgia is so again, we are constitutionally required to have a balanced budget. So unlike DC, we have to have a balanced budget.
Yeah.
We also have a pretty healthy rainy day reserve fund, which is important, as a lot of us saw during the housing crisis in 2011, 2009.
How
That came
much
into
is
play.
how
Yeah.
much is in there now?
So we are required to keep a certain percentage of our budget in the rainy day fund by law. We've got a little bit more than that presently, which I think is smart,
Mhm.
rather than just keep the bare minimum. So I think we have roughly somewhere between 10 and 15 billion in reserve, and so that allows us to do a few different things. So over the last 10 years, we've increased teacher pay pretty significantly. We're able
Yeah.
to give another $2,000 pay bonus to our teachers this year. We've been able to give Georgia residents an income tax refund. So with tax day coming up here pretty soon,
Yeah.
folks will actually be getting some money back, which is always a good thing. And then we've been able to do some property tax relief as well.
Yeah, we'll get to talk about that too a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah,
In fact, let's talk about that a
yeah,
little bit.
yeah,
The
yeah, yeah,
the it's the focus is on, if I understand correctly, on capping property assessment
yeah,
increases,
yeah,
which is great in my mind because, I think people look at property tax and say, well, property tax could be a certain percentage, and that never almost changes because it's the assessment that really increases
yeah,
the revenue on that, not the property tax percentage that is voted on. And
yeah,
the assessment, can be challenged or not challenged. A lot of people don't even challenge the assessment they
yeah.
get. So tell us how is that capping it? How's the mechanism going to work on that?
Yeah, so this has been a real big topic of discussion over the last couple of years, especially as homeowners have seen property taxes. I mean, I don't know about you, Rico, but
Oh,
ours has gone up a lot.
yeah.
And, I hear about it from voters all the time. And the sad reality is, I mean, if you're a senior on a fixed income, we're pricing you out of your home.
Mm.
If you have a kid who's looking to buy their first house, I mean, we're pricing those folks out as well. And so
Yes.
it's something that we knew we needed to address. We passed something similar a couple of years ago. It was voted on by voters and passed, I think, nearly 70% on a statewide ballot. And unfortunately, the caveat in that provision was that counties could opt out of that capping. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
our local county, Gwinnett County Schools, decided to do that. And so we've now come back and said, okay, well, again, we're seeing property taxes get way out of hand.
Mhm.
We need to put some either cap it at 3% or the rate of inflation. So we want to make sure that schools are fully funded, have the resources they need, while at the same time making sure that homeowners have property tax relief. And so I think we struck a real good balanced
Yeah.
approach.
Yeah, I mean, on the face of it, it looks great, and I'm sure it is good. Does it affect homestead exemptions in like Gwinnett County at all?
So you
Shouldn't.
would still get the same exemptions, yeah. And to your point on that, it's really interesting. Some of my colleagues on the Republican side tried to introduce a senior homestead exemption. Gwinnett County has a senior homestead exemption,
Right.
but it's means tested, and very few people actually qualify for it. And so Fulton County just passed a homestead exemption for seniors 65 and 70 years old, and it passed overwhelmingly. But unfortunately, we could not get support of our Democrat colleagues to put that on the ballot. And so we'll continue to go back and keep working on that. But I know a lot of seniors would love to get some relief, having
Oh,
paid taxes for a
yeah,
number of
for sure.
years.
I forget what the household combined income has to be, maybe 120 or I think it was somewhere around there, 120, 125.
Yeah. Yeah. Which,
Um,
a lot of seniors are already over that.
yeah, I mean, they're going on fixed Social Security or whatever retirement pay and trying to make ends meet, I guess.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
let's go into HB 328, which is a piece that you help sponsor. And that covers the Georgia Gold Scholarship, which again, this is one of those things that I'm not familiar with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell us first, what is the Georgia Gold Scholarship and why increase that cap, which I think was
Yeah.
120 million or something.
Yep,
That's
very good. Yeah, yeah. The Georgia Gold program has been an incredibly successful and popular program where you can redirect a portion of your state tax liabilities toward a school to allow them to local schools to admit students who otherwise wouldn't be able to afford to attend that school. And so it's a win for the taxpayer. It's a win for students, giving them greater school choice. Unfortunately, the program has a dollar cap on it, and so. Many taxpayers apply for the program, but they only receive a smaller prorated portion. And so we increased that cap with 328 last year. It's pretty interesting. We looked at the data. My district, the House District 48, where we're at, is one of the bigger, not only contributors, but users of the Georgia Goal program. So
oh,
we've got a lot of folks who are contributing to it and contributing to great schools in our area. Think Cornerstone, think Perimeter, think Wesleyan, and a lot of other smaller schools in the area.
smaller like private schools, charter schools, stuff like that.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. So
And,
you or I would, redirect a portion of our state tax liability to a school like Cornerstone, who'd receive those funds and be able to admit a student who may not otherwise be able to pay tuition.
well, okay. I think as part of that legislation, which, legislation always has an amendment or amendments. You can
Yeah.
amend something to death sometimes, I guess.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was interesting to note that this one had a limit to the number of times transit referendums can be placed on the ballot, which I thought was interesting that it was coupled in this legislation. But then I was thinking about how many times MARTA has been put on as a referendum. Is like, they're just going to keep putting it on until at some point, 10 years from now, every year or every other year, eventually it will pass.
Yeah.
So is
Yeah.
it does that talk about how does that limit that? Is it the subject matter of the referendum or is it a specific, how do you even do that? Like,
Yeah, so it's the transit referendum. So what I think taxpayers, it was really protection for them because you're right. What happens is we keep putting lipstick on a pig and hoping it'll pass, and the counties keep throwing it on the ballot, and voters keep voting it down. And so this was a kind of common sense measure within the bill that said that you can only do it every 8 years. So if you propose something, it goes down. You got to
Mhm.
go back to the drawing board, fix it, do something, but you can't just like keep adding the same thing on the ballot again and again and again, hoping it'll get passed.
So
So
does that change? Like I think the last one was a mix, right? It was mass transit, but it was also micro transit.
yeah,
There was a bunch of things in that bill, in that
yeah,
referendum, actually,
yeah,
to make it
yeah,
like tenable for everyone. How do you
yeah.
distinguish if it's a different type of transit bill, or is it just any transit bill then?
Yeah, it's like a transit T-Splosh, so it would
Okay.
apply. To your point, I mean, they keep, like I said, I hate to keep using, I mean, putting lipstick on the pig. They keep trying to like toy with it to like, if we could put enough goodies in there,
Yeah.
maybe we can incentivize and it keeps failing. So, and it doesn't just apply to Gwinnett. I mean, it's the
Right.
surrounding,
Right.
metro area. Yeah. So,
It's-
Again, a great win for the taxpayer.
Oh, I think so. I mean, if people
Yeah.
start realizing how much it actually costs to build a mile of heavy rail, it's just like it's not worth
Well, and what's interesting too, not only just, a lot of our tax dollars are spent promoting the transit,
it. Is that too?
and
Yes.
getting us to vote in favor of it. So I mean, we're gonna save time and money and resources from that aspect too. Yeah.
All right. Good stuff. The next piece is another thing, I guess, which I didn't know either. I mean, I knew it
Yeah.
was high,
Yeah.
but I didn't realize it was
Yeah.
this high.
Yeah.
38% of children in third grade are at the grade level. Only 38% are at grade level.
Yeah.
There's a bill that passed,
Yeah.
1193.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I still can't understand what. So is this every third grader, private public schools, or just public schools? I mean, I just don't understand how only 38% can read at grade level in third grade. It's
Yeah.
just
I mean, it's scary. Yeah, so and a lot of prisons. You've kind of heard the data. I mean, they build prisons based off of literacy. I mean, like so this
yeah,
has a socioeconomic outcome, but it has a real world economic. I mean, if we're hiring these folks 10 years from now or 12 years from now, they got to be able to read, and we've done our kids a disservice. I think for a number of years we went down a wrong path of how we educate our kids on how to read. We're returning back to how you and I grew up reading, kind of that phonics based science of reading. And so we did that approach last year or a couple years ago. And then this year, we really studied. There's a real famous example, the Mississippi Miracle. What they've done there is just incredible. A kid in Mississippi is two and a half more times likely to read than a kid in California. I mean, they've just, and you wouldn't expect from
yeah,
Mississippi. And so this bill is modeled after what they did there, where we're putting reading coaches in every elementary school to make sure they've got the tools, the resources, the knowledge to teach these kids how to read. And we've invested a lot of, we talked about budget earlier, a lot of budget dollars behind this effort because we've just come to a point where it's like it's unacceptable where only 38% of third graders read at grade level. It's just not sustainable. So,
yeah. No, I'm
uh,
sure. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
it's hard to sometimes get high school graduates going into college to be able to write correctly, also, but I understand.
Well, and
Uh,
part of that goes back to the cell phone issue. I mean, just getting kids to focus and think critically and read and write and carry on a conversation,
yes,
Yeah.
yes. I mean, I just, to find a kid that can look you straight in the eye and talk to you without, being distracted is really difficult. So,
Yeah. It's interesting.
and
A colleague of mine at the Capitol, he had two school groups at the Capitol visiting one day, and one
uh,
had gone cell phone free, the other had not. And he said the kids from the one school were able to look him in the eye, have a conversation. It was amazing. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's incredible sometimes. And AI is just not going to make it easier either,
No,
because that's
no,
the other
no,
challenge.
no.
Actually, has the House taken up any bill about AI or about use of AI?
That's a good question. We've kind of touched in and around the issue. There was a bill dealing with deep fakes and especially around like political advertising. You have someone on the camera saying something. Is that really that candidate or that person?
Yeah.
I don't think that ultimately passed. But yeah, we're doing a lot around age verification too, and at what age kids get access to certain apps, and what are they able to do on that? There's a real big issue with this app called Roblox that I think we'll
Yes.
need to address coming up next session. So technology is quickly evolving, and we're
Oh,
trying to play catch up.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's going to get faster, it seems. I mean, it's just like, yeah. I mean, Mythos is, I think it was product that like ChatGPT from
Mm.
Anthropic that could mess up the banking systems if it gets out the
Oh yeah.
wrong way.
Oh yeah.
Um, the and so the Daniel Waters Act
Yeah.
was brought up
Yeah.
by a local mom here in Peachtree Corners.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So there's legislation that went with that. So tell us about that.
This is one that's real special, near and dear to my heart. A neighbor of ours, Ashley and Brandon Waters, had a child who unfortunately was born stillborn. And so, one of the things that they've kind of made their mission to honor his legacy is to make sure every hospital in Georgia is equipped with what's called a cooling cradle. which if you do have a child who is born, stillborn, you're able to keep that child in the cradle. It allows their body to last longer, giving you time to properly grieve, make plans, and just process the devastating loss. And so, I
Right.
was able to work with Ashley, amazing family. They're doing this privately, trying to get them out, but they wanted to introduce a state law that basically said, "Hey, hospitals, if you've got a unit, that where you do a delivery unit, you've got to have access to these machines." And so we were looking at maybe some state funding as well to go along with that. But a lot of it just kind of brought awareness around the issue. It was an incredibly emotional committee hearing. We had a number of moms come down, talk about their own experience and what that equipment means to them and their families. Yeah.
Well, that's sad. Um, moving on a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, Georgia, Georgia Governor Kemp is this is his last term.
Mhm.
He's leaving. Is
Yeah.
he's done a great job over the last 8 years, or I think he's done a pretty good job,
Yeah.
even keel about things, doing the right things there, giving raises to school teachers, using some of that extra money that's out there the proper way, I think. He's leaving, but this would be his last session, right?
Yeah.
But he may be calling special session back in, is what I understand. So what is that going to be about? Is that
Yeah.
what's going on there?
Well, so to your point, I think Kim's done a great job. One of the more popular leaders we've got right now in the state, and it's bittersweet to kind of see him moving on. But I'm happy and excited for him and his family. I will put a brief plug in for our primaries that a lot of folks, we're starting to get a lot of the mail, and you're seeing
Yeah.
signs. May 19th, we've got a primary both sides of the aisle. You get in and vote who you want to see. We have a number of statewide from U.S. Senate, governor, lieutenant governor, secretary of state. So, I have a chance to work one-on-one with a lot of these candidates that are running for office. So, I would encourage folks to reach out to me if you want to know more about them personally. But yeah, we had an elections bill a couple of years ago that said on your ballot there was concern about the QR code.
Mm,
Because you can see on your ballot who you voted for, their name, the little dot you put in by them.
right,
But the QR code is what gets scanned in, and a lot of people are concerned. Well, does that QR code match with what I see visually on my ballot? And so we passed a bill that said, okay, the machine's got to count the physical name,
right.
dot rather than the QR code. We got to get rid of the QR codes. That was supposed to happen by July 1st. It did not happen. And so we are up against kind of a deadline to do something. Either unfortunately kick the can down the road, extend the July 1st date, or try to kind of rush through a new system.
So you're saying July 1st because of the November elections. This would affect that or the primaries?
It would affect the November elections, yeah. So we set a July and a bill we passed a couple of years ago, a July 1st, 2026
And
deadline to have QR codes removed from the
and it,
ballots.
and again, just to explain that again one more time, the QR, so when I go in to fill out the ballot, I
Yep.
submit it to the reader,
Yep.
and I think I'm done. So what is that QR code? Is it when that printout comes out, it's reading the QR code is what you're saying on that?
Yeah, so yeah, you're on your voting machine, you hit print
Yeah,
ballot, it prints the ballot out. You get to look at your ballot. It's a paper copy.
right.
You get to see who you voted for. But the data of that ballot is stored in the QR code, which is then scanned by that big black dumpster looking machine that you put it in. Um,
Now those ballots are kept, right? They're kept in a lockbox.
mhm,
So
mhm.
if there was a recount that had to be done at some point,
That's right.
we have all the ballots. It's not a
That's right.
paper ballot. It's not a paper receipt,
That's right.
electronic. This is something that they can literally pull those ballots out and check every single ballot to see exactly who got voted on.
That's
And
right.
what
That's
you're
why,
saying,
yeah, that's why I like our new system because it has that capability. I mean, if you remember the previous system, there was never any really physical
no.
Or,
Yes,
you
that
know,
was
yeah,
horrible. That was like, God forbid there had to be a recount. All they could recount was the number on the back of the machine to say this is what voted. But what the hell is that? I've
exactly.
been, maybe I'm a little too jaded. I come from New York and it's like, no, that's just not, I can't
Yeah,
see
yeah,
that working out really well. So I'm glad that was changed.
yeah.
And I can see the problem with cybersecurity also with these QR codes being generated. Are they generating properly? Who has access to the machines? I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
if something
And to,
looks
to your point, I mean, you could ultimately, it would take a lot of work, but I mean, you could physically count the ballots and make sure it ties to the what the QR, the
right,
machine has read.
right,
So we're trying to, yeah, remove the QR code and have the
yeah,
machine read the names that are printed on the ballot that you voted for. Yeah.
okay. All right.
So, but to your point, I mean, the system, the previous one always made me. I always felt kind of weird. Like I pushed the button, submit, and it was kind of
Hmm.
okay. I hope. So I like the new one. I think we're making progress, but I think there's more we can do. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, because even that could be corrupted at some point, but at least maybe less corrupted. Um, yeah, too many, people. I mean, I've heard stories. We've seen the news reports sometimes of ballot boxes getting misplaced or of access to warehouses where voting machines are at. Doesn't
Yeah.
take too many thumb drives to go do something nasty, right?
Yeah.
Um, and you
Yeah.
see it all the time in federal government and even in the private sector,
Yeah.
where you don't hear about theft of data until like 3 months later or something.
Yeah. 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 So that's what we
Um,
want to do. We want to make sure that voters feel, instill them with confidence that their vote's being counted. I mean,
yeah.
it's the most important thing we've got. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so everyday things, right? I have to probably go to the store later and I'm going to be paying for gas to fill up. 60-day suspension of the gas tax. I didn't even realize how much tax we get charged on per gallon. It's about 33.3 cents per gallon,
Yeah. That's
or
right.
somewhere around there. Diesel's a little higher. So that's been suspended since when? Since March, I
Yeah,
guess.
about mid-March. Yeah. So with the incursion in Iran and everything that's going on globally, obviously we've seen gas prices spike. That doesn't help inflation or anything, but there's only so many tools that we as at a state level can pull, and we're going to pull those. I mean, what voters tell us is, help us grow the economy, make life more affordable. And so we listen to that and we take action. And so I was proud to vote on the gas tax suspension, which will cost the state about $400 million that we're returning back to taxpayers. And it's you and I, but it's also businesses that transport food and goods and groceries
Yeah.
and all that. So it has a trickle down impact on the entire economy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again,
Hopefully,
having that rainy day fund allows
really
us to,
helps.
it helps. It helps because I mean, a lot of states haven't suspended their gas tax, and so
And we don't
it's been
even know how long, you know, 2 weeks is 4 weeks is 6 weeks becomes
yeah,
10 weeks, how
yeah,
long Iran's going to be the way it is.
yeah,
And the
yeah,
ships driving around,
yeah,
sailing
yeah,
around. I mean,
yeah.
yeah, I don't think people understand too. I mean, some of these, by the time, even if they finish the war, let's say,
Hmm.
it still would be 3 to 4 weeks before we get a shipment. I mean, it
Yeah,
takes a long time for these things to happen. And
that's right.
then they have to be refined and stuff. So it's a mess.
That's right.
Insurance reform. That was something else that I thought was good about lowering
Yeah,
premiums, transparency,
yeah,
combating fraud,
yeah,
which is always difficult because
yeah.
criminals always find a new way of doing things. Um, Also doubling, I think it was doubling the cancellation renewal
Hmm.
notice from
Hmm.
30 days to 60 days. That's always helpful. But
Yeah.
tell us what else within that insurance reform legislation happened.
Yeah, big shout out to my colleague, Representative Matt Reeves, who led a study committee this over the last 12 months on this issue. And this follows up on what we did around tort reform and, kind of seeking to address a lot of the billboard lawyers and things you see out there that also drive up insurance costs.
Mhm.
I think, Rico, you, me, and just about everybody has seen all forms of insurance go up. And so
Right.
this again was kind of modeled after some reforms that we saw come out of Florida that have, since they've done that, they've seen their insurance rates come down. They've seen new providers come into the market. So, more competition, again, trying to drive prices down. Yeah, a lot of it like addressing uninsured motorists. I was shocked to hear, I don't know what the percentage is, but it's high of the number of uninsured motorists that we have here, increasing penalties there because that drives up costs on all of us. You're right, and then insurance companies have to present to the insurance commissioner. Here's what our rates are going to be, and we're going to earn X amount of profit. And so if they have profits way in excess of that, they've got to now return that back to the ratepayers, you and I. So just a lot of good comments and stuff that is going to bring. It's really going to have a positive impact and hopefully drive down. So not every year you're not getting your car insurance, and so well that's another increase.
Right. So
Yeah.
this insurance actually covers like cars, homes, doesn't
Yep.
cover healthcare, I'm assuming.
No, this is more. We've done a lot in the healthcare space. I had a bill dealing with health insurance in regards to surprise medical billing. So a
Mm.
couple years ago, we addressed when you get that hospital bill and it's through the roof, and you can't, but there was a carve out in that bill for ambulance, EMS, transport services.
Mhm.
So I passed House Bill 506 to address that. So you're not sitting in the back of an ambulance bleeding out your leg, having to worry about, how the world am I going to pay for this?
And for
So,
that, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think, yeah, the health insurance. It's too bad they don't have like a price sheet they can give you. It's like the only industry where you don't even know how much you're going to pay until it's all done, and then you
yeah,
get the bill. And it's like I don't go shopping that way. I mean,
yeah.
just like I don't get that.
You are 100% right. Yeah,
Um, so politics is
yeah,
you're running also in November, right?
that's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
You're in a
That's right.
primary? Do you have a primary challenger or no?
No, we were blessed. So no primary. So I'm the Republican nominee. I'll be on your ballot, but unopposed. So I just need my wife to vote for me, or Rico, or you, or anybody. And so we'll be
Okay.
good there. And then yeah, we're gearing up for a pretty competitive campaign. Our district is literally 50-50, in the presidential election, right down the middle. And so.
Really?
So it's fun. So every 2 years, you really have to kind of go out, tell your story of and I'll tell you, you won't find a more transparent, hardworking state rep out there. But I love doing the campaign work and knocking on the doors and raising the
Oh, I
money.
know.
And,
I know you
so,
do. Yeah,
yeah,
you're out there all
yeah,
the time. I get that. Yes, you're
yeah.
definitely out there all the time.
So if you
Um,
see me sweaty showing up on your door, that's me. I love it. So
that is cool. Well, it'll be hot during the summer as you go, but it'll get cooler by October maybe.
that's right.
Um,
Right.
so I guess we've actually covered everything that I wanted to cover with
Yeah,
you at this
yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah,
Um, there's a lot of young people that are getting into politics,
yeah, yeah,
both running as candidates and also helping candidates, right? I think is there more from your experience right now? Because I could see how some young kids they don't care. They
yeah,
see the stuff going on and they say, why? Why does it matter? Does my vote even matter? And
yeah.
stuff like that. But what are you seeing? Are you seeing that type of feel to politics, or are you seeing more young
There's
kids?
more interest in it because of national politics. They're more aware of what's going on. You're right. What I'm trying to do personally and just in my own little sphere locally is to
Yeah.
inspire kids that, hey, there's a lot of acrimony at a national level, but let me inspire you as to, hey, there's a different brand of politics out there where you do the work, you unite people, you treat people with respect and dignity, and it's not just this like mudslinging, that we see at a national level. And so. I'm trying to lead by example and pay it forward to some of these young kids. And I'm blown away by just the talent that we have here locally. There's some amazing high school, college, folks that want to get involved. And so, yeah, I encourage anybody, reach out, whether you want to help with the campaign, page at the Capitol, work on policy. Just get a taste of it, because a lot of people I stood on their shoulders and, I'm trying to help pay it forward and help other kids out. Yeah.
Yeah, and your social media, I follow you on Instagram. Really good. I mean, the things you do, it's fun stuff and it's good educational stuff. So
We work hard and we have fun time. We do a video every day. Follow us on social media if you don't already. Scott Hilton GA.
Right.
Facebook, Instagram, and I just got on TikTok. So help me grow my
I'm on
following there
TikTok. Okay, I'm gonna
on
have to follow you
TikTok.
though. Okay.
Please, please, please. But yeah, the most popular, we do a blooper reel. You got to show people that, you're real.
Yes, I've seen those blooper reels. It's I gotta laugh.
Yeah.
Who's doing this stuff for you? Because it's really creative. It's kind of fun.
We have a good kid, Diego, he was my legislative aide this past session, Georgia State grad, really good kid. He's got
Doing
a
a good
full-time
job.
job now doing something else. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
proud of him.
It's
Yeah.
definitely doing a good job for you. All
Yeah.
right. If you all want to find, follow him on social media, Scott Hilton, 48th District, Georgia House, website that they can go to also.
Yeah, so Scott Hilton GA, we've got a form you can jump on, submit your name, email, and we'll get back to you.
All right, sounds good. It's been great talking to you and going over everything. I appreciate you being with me. Um, Whoever, the listeners here, if you're listening on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter even, leave comments, put your questions there, because we'll text Scott or Scott will see these things. So if you have questions for him, definitely go ahead and put them up on those streams. But thanks, Scott. Appreciate it.
Rico, thank you.
Sure. Hang in there. Thanks, guys.